Blimey, you still watching? Very glad to hear it, and welcome back to Project Honda CB2, where we get serious with the M-Unit, the Motogadget M-Unit Blue. As you can see, I have a helper. Yes, it's going to be step by painful step, as you discovered if you watched the last episode, just because. And that's mainly because before I bought the unit, I've done a few bikes already, and never dared to go for the M-Unit. But anyway, on the Honda, the wiring is such a mess because it's all been kind of semi-redone and it's all the same colour, and so I decided to take the plunge, and I watched a lot of videos on how to install M-Units, and very few of them were very helpful. By the way, if you can hear squealing in the background, I'm not torturing the cat. As you can see, he has very little respect for when we're filming, and very little respect for my car, which is why it has a cover on it. What? Oh, you weren't looking for cat videos. No, I agree. Let's get on with it then. So, I don't know how far we're going to get in this episode, this 10 minutes. It's certainly going to be at least 10 hours. But it would be nice to get all the wiring kind of laid out and at least something working. Let's try and get the headlight working, because that would be nice and simple, right? So, issue number one is that we have 12 slots, times 2, but they're in and out. And only 6 colours of wires. Well, I guess it's 5 more colours than the kid had. Probably a good idea to order some more colours. Back in a minute. It's that simple. So we're starting with the ignition wire, and I'm using what we got because I haven't ordered any new stuff yet. Cut it plenty long because I'm figuring it's got to go to our, not that, oh no, that start button, no, that's something different. So it has got to go to something like this, I guess, except we're not going to be using that. Possibly one of these, possibly nothing at all, apart from a mobile phone. I'm not quite sure how that all works yet. I should probably read the instructions again. I mean, can you tell I've only read a page or two? I think I showed you, there's quite a lot of it. Anyway, so that's that, red. I'm reserving green for the starter motor. Because why wouldn't you? Because we haven't got enough green already. I know. Is this video going to be at all useful at any point in the near future? I don't know. Keep watching. Anyway, these clips are pretty impressive. Good grip and very easy to use. Dissimilar from these that you know if you've watched any of my other videos that I really like. Yeah, just really simple to use and reuse. Beam and high beam, again, giving me plenty of scope for routing of wires. Duly noted. Next up, brake light. God damn it, should have used the red. I know, maybe we're taking this a bit slow, but because of the videos I've watched already, I think you need to take it step by step. So what I'm going to do is wire up the rest of the outputs, the ones I think I need. Do the same on the inputs, and then we'll resume, right? Because, I mean, you've seen how we plug shit into the blue unit. Like that. Along with the copious wiring. And while we're all plugging it all in here, we can start getting rid of some of this trash. Yeah, like all of this. This is the turn signals and the rear light as labelled. So all that can go. And we trace it all the way up here and get rid of it all there too. This is a good feeling. It's like clearing out an old cupboard. It's about as interesting too. 5 down, still a few to go. So just FYI, because part of the installation is the de-installation, 2 of those wires went to this, which basically went to the right-hand handlebar, and I think that was the brake lights. 2 more went up here with this plethora of wires, which I think ended up at the gauges. I think that's what that looks like. No, that's the left-hand handlebars. More switches then. Brown went into the ignition key. I think that was an earth. Maybe wrong. Anyway, kind of doesn't matter. Just one by one we'll be shedding wires and leaving ourselves with what we need from the original loom. But a lot of this is gonna go away and be replaced with that. And only some of that is going up the front. Although what you can do is order one of these little units, and one wire goes to the handlebars and controls all that stuff. But I didn't like that idea. It just sounds like a recipe for frustration and what the hell's going on type stuff. So I avoided that. But it might be a very clever little gadget. But I like to deal with my gadgets one at a time. Talking of which, when the hell's he going to plug something in, I hear you ask. Okay. Well, I'm not exactly sure where to start. Yes, I'm looking at this. I'm guessing we need to start here. Ignition lock, which goes to power, whereas everything else goes to ground. Haven't got my head around that yet. But we did have something similar with the relay for the blinkers or indicators on the Bel Air, and if you haven't watched that series, I suggest you do. It's epic. What? Oh, your bike, guys. Yeah, well, I mean, come on, who can resist a 1961 Chevrolet Bel Air? Well, on the tidy up front, it's looking better already, right? That's pretty much what we're left with down the bottom end. I'm not quite sure what that is. It might be the indicator relay. I think those colours coming out of it are familiar with indicators, so we might not even need that. We're left with the ignition, the key there, dangling away. So yeah, 2 wires there, which will probably be completely redundant as well and replacing. And then that bunch on the floor, which all went to the handlebars, most of which is already redundant. There's just a couple of things I'm not sure about, kill switches and starter buttons. Not sure whether we're going to need those or not. But it's starting to look quite organised, wouldn't you say? Okay, so quick theory test. Hooked up the rear light, orange, to the front light, actually. The running light, which is also orange. So there it is. And it goes up here, and it's wired in there to the white, which is the running light, and the earth is earthed. As far as we know, I'm going to retest that. But basically it's not working, which is what I assumed, because I haven't done the ignition lock. So I'm guessing we have to do that first. Because although the unit powers up as soon as you flip the switch and it gets power, I'm guessing that, i.e. the ignition, is the final solution. Yes, that one there, despite the fact that the whole unit's got power there. And just to be doubly sure on the situation, I did test the earth plugged into a proper, right onto the battery earth. Still the same situation. So some new coloured wiring and some thinner stuff for the inputs, that side. Because they're tiny. By the way, you're going to need some seriously small screwdrivers, because those are about 3mm across, if that. Anyway, as you can see, we're getting there. And I also found this super useful simplified wiring diagram, just for kind of wiring in everything apart from all the obvious. So all the important stuff like stators and coils and things. The only thing I don't understand is this goes to the ignition. That makes sense. Down here we got another ignition. What's that? Righty, let's start hooking things up properly. So let's start with that lock, which is the red wire in the very last orifice, and we got that looping up here, and we got that going into this switch. Simple on-off switch. Yeah, we're not using the ignition keys, they're down there, they will be redundant. And that, as I say, is the only one that goes to power. So what we've done is take another wire off the positive terminal, this side, down there, that blue wire. And I've chosen blue just because the other wire on the switch is blue, so it matches that. So we're going to temporarily run that along here and plug it in, like so. So we've got power going up the blue, into the switch, out the switch on the red, down to our lock, which should, in theory, bring power to that unit to then distribute wherever. And to test that, I'm going to use one of these dodgy old little red lights, which we've got earthed to the frame, and then the other wire goes to the aux, which is for the rear light, and anything else that you want to come on, immediately you switch the bike on. So we'll put that running light on there as well once we've got it all working, i.e. that running light there, the halo. So first up, let's flick our 30 amp fuse. We have power to the unit. Alright, let's see what happens. So in theory, we switch this on and we get a red light. No. We do have lights here though, that's interesting. Well, I guess, my bad, put it in the wrong hole. So now we have, those lights were indicating which circuits had power. So now we have a light on the auxiliary down here, and we have a rear light. Yeah, how about that? And the other one that has power is the red circuit, which is the ignition system, which is good news. That means if we hook that up, in theory, we should have a start button. We're not going to do that yet. So we're just going to test, or show you, that both those front sockets now have power. So they're your permanent power as soon as the ignition is turned on. So we've got 13 volts out of there. Whereas the one that I had the rear light in, which was this boy, which I also thought came on with everything, we got nothing. Zip. Let's try that theory with the headlight. So now I'm running the orange wire up front, plugged into the white wire of the headlight. So in theory, when we hit the switch, we should have our running light. Bingo. So that means we can get rid of this. And all that. So all we've got leading to that tangled mess, which was all the handlebar switches, are these 4 wires now. And I'm going to throw caution to the wind and chop them, because they're just confusing the issue and getting in the way. And the whole point of this exercise is that we're not supposed to need them. So let's get rid of them. My word, how tidy it looks. Right, well, let's start wiring these up properly. And I'm going to cut them this end because they're really easy to get in and out. So yeah, going to hook them all up properly up there. Just putting some different connectors on the rear light because we're going to test that, and obviously they're connected to it's connected to the seat. So every time you take the seat off, you're going to have to disconnect these, and that may look excessive. Yeah, excessive amount of wiring. Neat little trick I learned from Mike when he helped me out and taught me a lot about electrics on the Bel Air. Cut it long, bend it over, double it up. Like so, especially when it's this kind of thin wire. Just gives your crimp a better connection. So that's that all ready. Right, so rejig the outs to match the headlamp. So high beam is now green, low beam is now brown. And over here, we've got a switch. It says push button or switch for light. Well, we've got switch. That switch there, that one. Trouble is, we're not quite sure how it works yet, so let's find that out before we start getting really frustrated. So we've jerry-rigged our little tester battery with one of our little tester lights. There it is. Yeah. And I'm pretty confident that the black is the power into the switch. Now this will inevitably become an earth, I think, with the blue unit. So all we've got to find out is which is high beam, which is low beam. I'm guessing brown's low beam and blue's high beam, and that's our 1, 2 on the switch there. So we've connected the brown and the power to the light with my fingers, and now we're gonna turn that on to position 1 and hope we get a red light. We do. Now we got the blue connected to the power of the light, and let's hit down to number 2. Nothing. Maybe that's because we just turned it off, not on. Try again. There we go. Alright, I was right. You impressed, Mr. Stewart. I had a 30% chance of getting anything right there, multiple of which is probably more, and I got it all right first time. Alrighty, let's try running it through the M-Unit. I'm not so confident at this point that anything will come on. Alright, so we're all hooked up on this side. Let me run you through that. White off the auxiliary, driving light comes on as soon as you switch the whole system on. Green is high beam, low beam is brown. Over here, we just got one switch, and this is what I don't really understand. Push button or switch light. All going to ground. So our black wire, which was previously to the positive on the little test battery, is now going to ground. Our white switch wire from the M-Unit is going into that terminal, and both wires from the switch are also going into that terminal. I don't understand this. Nice engine paint job, isn't it? Let's give it a whirl, see what happens. Okay, main power on, running light on, headlight switch. Wow, we got headlight and beam. Oh, it worked for a split second there, and then it went out. Hold on. I think this may be something to do with the settings within the M-Unit. So let me show you what's going on. It doesn't matter which way I flick it, something comes on, right? So that's your main headlight, and then when you go to full beam, comes on, and then everything goes off. So I guess that's a setting in the M-Unit itself. Again. Headlight, flip it the other way, high beam, off. That could be not useful on a dark country lane. Anyway, we've got headlights, that's a bloody miracle for starters. Actually, that's more confusing still, because if I turn it off, it doesn't. Now it does. I guess it's to do with the fact it's a switch and not a push button. Basically, the M-Unit likes just momentary switches, so you just push it and it doesn't stay in, and that tells it to do something. Guess I got to program the unit to tell it it's got a hard switch rather than a memory button thing. Programming. I'm supposed to be good at that. I'm a web designer. So just to recap, as per diagrams and instructions, apart from that main lock switch which goes to the battery terminal or positive, or the positive on the blue unit itself, everything else goes to earth. I think we'll quit while we're ahead on this particular episode, and I'll get back to you next time with how to program that switch, if I can determine that. And we'll look at hooking up the brake light, and then we'll get on to the serious business like the rest of it, the regulator and everything else, and the starter later. as always, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. If you thought the video was any good, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, subscribe down here. Need subscribers, plus you'll need to know when to tune in to the next episode. Save you reading all this bullshit. And of course, encourage others to watch my lunacy.